Folks, here I am with Brendan in the flat, and who are you talking with today, Brendan?
Well, we've got a gentleman called Paul Topliff today, and he's the father of a chap called Andy Topliff, who really, if we're really honest about it, is one of the trailblazers that started the bare knuckle boxing. So we all know it happened hundreds of years ago,
Yes.
but you know, I'm going back in the last 10 years, we've seen BKB become from an underground illegal sport now to be, you know, a worldwide sport. This man and his son was involved in putting on the fights in hay bales,
Yes.
in the backs of pubs and in gyms and in fields, you know, where it was really brutal. You know, like you've seen the film Fight Clubs and you've seen these other films. I mean, it was a cross between, you think of the Charles Bronson fights that he had in his movies, and you think of Clint Eastwood in Any Which Way But Loose. Like we had in England, and that sort of characters turning up on a British perspective, you know, and there was people from up and down the country, from little villages that through the internet and through connections heard about these fights. I mean, I witnessed James McGroy and Dave Radford have what I call brutal fights, 5-minute rounds.
How did it get then from you to Dave's house?
He'd come to the house and see the back garden that we had, which, by the way, when Andy first come, it was open. It was open, there weren't no roof, right? And Andy said, look, this will be perfect, Dave, you'll get the right crowd, you know, and being at Dave Courtney's, he give it a bit more pizzazz, a bit more like, there was all different people wanted to go. Dave had people from all over that wanted to go to that. So
Did they have to license it though? Or did they just forget
Well,
about
it wasn't licensed in those days.
no, but we didn't. I mean, let's be honest. A license wasn't a thing that.
No.
You know, we didn't have one for the fruit machine, so we was never going to get one for any boxing event. But when it come to that event, I remember Dave saying to me, "Look," he said, they'll have the helicopter up with all the people here. He went, "We can't have if we have this open, they'll see what's going on." So we had to, and this is a typical Dave Courtney. And when you look at the video on YouTube that Vice done, the week before that event took place, we had a scaffold put up in the back garden, and I helped erect the scaffold. And the plan was then that we were going to get some form of roof over it, but you know, as usual, we didn't have hardly any money. There was no time. It was happening that weekend, so Dave come up with one of his like amphetamine fueled ideas, let's say, that we would use the Harris fencing that we had down the side of the alley and put that up on the roof put it up on the scaffold and cover it with black polythene. So it worked, it did do the job, right? But the only trouble is we left it up there and it rained for 2 or 3 days afterwards. Well, the weight, because the water had nowhere to go, the weight on this like Harris fencing, it just bowed it out and started putting all weight on the scaffold. And I had to go down there one afternoon or in the evening and literally with a spear put holes in it, and I was getting soaked because we thought the scaffold was going to collapse. But if you look at that event, Dave made that, right? He made the roof, he got all the lights put up. That was Dave instigated all that, and he created the atmosphere on that fight that night, the James McGroy fight.
So how many people turned up on the night?
We had over 500 people there.
Yeah. And it got very big publicity. I remember seeing it in the papers and stuff. There were all these.
It was amazing. It was like being at a real scene in Snatch.
Yes.
You know, like Freddie Foreman was there. We had people from Birmingham there. You know, we had people from Manchester. And you had travelling people would come from different parts. And all I can say about the people that turned up there, they were all so respectful. And they were all really like easy going, would speak to you, have a laugh. Listen, they didn't stop drinking when they got there. They did not stop drinking. And this is in the film, I think Angel of the North, this is going to come out, because I played myself in that film, and what actually happened on the
James
night.
McGroy's film.
James McGroy's film, yeah. James was meant to be fighting, I think about 9 o'clock. So we'd had one fight. There was, I can't remember who it was, but we had one fight before that. I think there was 3 fights altogether. And we'd had the first fight and they was looking for James. So I ended up ringing James McGroy and he said, I said, James, where are you? And he went, well, I've been on the piss, I'm in Sheffield. I said, what? He said, I'm in Sheffield, I've been on the piss for 3 days. And I went, James, you're meant to be fighting in an hour. And he went, oh, fuck, I thought, get me a fucking taxi and I'll come down then. So I had to get the taxi for him, yeah. And we got, well, it weren't a taxi, we rang someone in Sheffield who got him and brought him down. Fair play to James, that is the type of real hard case that he was. Now, God rest his soul, Jason Young has passed away since. But he was in the dungeon training, he looked all cut, he was all muscly, he'd come over from America, it was the first bare knuckle boxing match between a British transatlantic fight for 130 years, there was a belt involved. And we went all out, we had hay bales, and we even pulled in, there was a bird that used to come round our house who was an ambulance girl, she worked on the ambulances. And she said, I ain't working that weekend, I'll put a green coat and I'll come round and be like a first aider. So she was if anyone happened to anyone, she was the one that was going to make them better. But
she went to a few of them actually.
She did, yeah. But I ended up getting James, he turned up 3 hours late for this fight, right? By now everyone's had a drink, they're all waiting for the fight. James was stinking of alcohol, by the way, where he had been on the piss, you know what I mean? And he had a Newcastle football shirt on, Irish shorts, and a pair of tatty old trainers, right? Really like that. And you just looked at him and he had a big beard, his hair was all over his face, he was stinking of booze when he did not look like he could possibly win this fight, right? And as he got in the ring, the very first round, he gets an uppercut and he gets put out. There was 2 lots of hay bales too.
Went right in the corner, didn't
and he gets put out over these hay bales, and everyone pushed him back in, trying to encourage him. Do you know what I mean? He took a count. He had a good count, but you know that Machine Gun Young. I think any other man, he would have broken, wouldn't he? He punched fuck out of him. He really hurt him. Right? Sean Smith, the debt collector, was the ref that night, but. So that the first round these were 5-minute rounds. So McGrory has just took a good pounding on the first round. He went out the second round and he was getting hit again, and he was just closing up McGrory, trying to, and it looked like whether he was too drunk and couldn't hit him or was just trying to honour the thing and he didn't want to let anyone down. I didn't know at the time, but I do believe that James's game plan was to let the man punch himself out.
Right.
And on that second round, when they come out for the third round, I think about 1 or 2 minutes into that third round, McGrory got close enough to him and hit him with an uppercut and knocked him out. You know, and it was an unbelievable. The fact that it is on video, you can still see it now.
What was the atmosphere like? Was it?
The atmosphere was
awesome.
Awesome. It was just, you couldn't. Honestly, it was like being in a film. It was like being in a film, and you know, and what was so admirable about it at the end of it was both shook hands and they both come into the bar, and McGrory said, give me a double Jameson's. So if someone's having a double Jameson's, and then he said, and he'll have the same. So that's 4 doubles out of a bottle. So I just went, listen, give them a bottle. They put on a proper good fight there. Just give them a bottle each if they want it. Yeah. And I see McGrory, he got £1,000 for that fight. And he pulled a handful of money out. He didn't count, he just grabbed a handful of money. And he said to Young, he said, listen, he went, take that. He said, I don't want you going back to America with nothing.
Was it like winner take all then?
Yeah, it was winner take all.
Yeah.
McGrory took
a mark of the man though.
Yeah.
He took a handful of money out and he tried to put it in the man's hand, and he went, no, he said, you beat me fair and square. He said, I did beat you fair and square. And he said, and if you don't take that money, he said, I'll beat you again. He said, take the fucking money. He said, you're not going home with nothing. And James McGroy was like that. He was a real sportsman, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? And James, if he'd been beaten by a better man, would actually say that. You know what I mean?
He would. You see, alluding to what you said earlier about you never ever saw any, violence among spectators. You never saw disrespect among the fighters. Of course, you do get the respect in mainstream glove boxing, right? But actually, what you never see if you go to a lot of boxing, and I love boxing, so I don't mean to put it down, but it is a fact. What you don't see and what's never filmed is there are so many fights going on in the gods, backstage. You never saw that.
I mean, all I could say
BKB.
with that bare knuckle thing at the time was, it was like a little community that seemed to know each other. You know, I remember meeting people at them different events up and down the country, and you all just got to know each other. And it'd be the same faces, and you'd all genuinely like to meet up, have a drink, how you doing, mate, have a chat. You know, be really polite, everyone got on, and then we watched the fight, and everyone went away going, well, that was a good one, or, or it's not as good as the last one, do you know what I mean? But they were brutal fights.
Is there a particular technique that people go for, to blind the person or something you were saying?
Well, I mean, one of the things in combat fighting is that, and actually Seth Jones used to say this, that you've got to try and blind them as much as you can body shot, because if you can black their eyes and puff them out, it's very difficult for them to see. They might get grit in their eyes, whatever. And so that was a part of the strategy. It was very brutal, brutal.
I witnessed that, and I think Andy was the referee on that fight, and that was Radford McGrory, right? And Dave Radford, his eye closed up on one side. Yeah. And he turned round. He went, hang on a minute. So he turned round so as he could see out of this eye. Yeah. And eventually that eye closed up. But him and McGrory called it a draw because James broke some of his bones in the fight that night. But they fought 5-minute rounds. That's 25 minutes. Yeah. And none of them, at the end of it, you had to call it a draw because they didn't beat each other. But it was epic watching them. You just think how the human body could do what they done. I found it incredible at the time.
Yeah, what you've got to understand as well, in all fairness, is that unlike the boxing community, whether you're amateur or whether you turn over to pro, they've got the backing. A lot of the fighters haven't always got the wages. But they've got the backing, they've got gyms to go to, they've got coaching, it's constant, it's every day, you're in that gym, you're on the road. In the bare knuckle boxing, back in those days, it was basically alpha males who wanted to have a settle with another alpha male.
None of them had training.
And they were left to their own devices.
None of them had training. No. James would be eating.
They didn't have the funding.
You'd see them fighters eating fish and chips straight afterwards and having a pint of Guinness, do you know what I mean? Yeah. There was no... It weren't a sporting routine, it was just two men with a lot of testosterone who really didn't care and had a high pain threshold who wanted to test themselves.
So did you try and do another show there? And it was shut down, was it? Or were you shut down?
Well, no, Andy, what, at the house?
At the house, yeah.
Yeah, we done that one and it got leaked and went out and Vice got hold of it, which at the time we didn't mind really, do you know what I mean? But we wanted to do another one there. It was really good. So on the second fight we were having there, we had said to the fighters, please don't mention it, on social media, because once it's out, obviously it might not go ahead. But one of the fighters on there, he actually put on his social media that he was fighting at the castle. And straight away, now, what was really bad, because the first one had been a success, on this second one, me and Dave decided to go all out. We now had the roof covered. So we built a ring out of pallets, and some ply and screwed that on. And the ring was about 3 foot above, so everyone could see, which was better than the one before. We got the hay bales in, and we even had a carpet with a red knuckle duster and a blue knuckle duster in the corners. So, and we'd done a deal, and we was selling tickets for that for about 85 quid. And I'd got a deal going with the boys who had a shop called the Griller, a chicken and chip shop, and they was doing me chicken in a basket and chips for a £5.
Right.
So I'd managed to sell with food tickets, including your meal, which was the chicken and chips being delivered.
Yes.
Right, and all this was going. I thought, we're going to make a bit of money here. This is a good one. This is working out well for us. Anyway, the guy puts it on the social media, and the next thing, Friday evening, we'd worked for 2 or 3 days getting it all ready. I'd got hired tables and chairs, brought them in, tables were set out. Everything was ready. It was like, yes, you know what I mean? We're good to go. And then I opened the door, and there was 2 policemen there, but I don't mean wooden tops. I mean with all the pips along here. Do you know what I mean? They was high ranking. I think Borough Commander was the term. But they asked to see Dave. They were very polite, and I said, Dave, there's a couple of chaps want a word with you here. So he went, Dave. He went, can I have a look down your garden? And we just looked at each other, and we went, yeah. So we walked down the garden. And he went, Dave, he said, I'd love to go to one of these events, you know. He said, I actually really like them. Mm-hmm. He said, I think they're fucking brilliant, you know, real men. He said, and he come in and he had looked round. He went, bloody hell. He said, you've gone all out here. And he said, looks really good, that, you know. He said, I like the hay bales. He said, but you know this is not happening, don't you? We just went... he said, listen, Dave, I'll be quite honest with you. He said, had we not known about it and we didn't find out about it, we wouldn't bother you. But he went, now it has come to our attention, it is our duty to stop this gathering where there could be trouble and it could get out of hand. He went, understand me, it's not happening. Dave went, no, listen, he said, if you tell me it's not happening, it's not happening, I'll make sure. And he said, we will have officers come here tomorrow night to check. So as they were walking off, I couldn't help it. I said, excuse me, sir. I said, is it possible that we can still have a party here, though? Yeah. I said, because a lot of people have booked hotels and they want to come here, and, you know, will it be okay if we just carry on and having a party? And both of them looked round and smiled, and he said, right, let's be honest, Dave, we're fully aware of you and your fucking parties, right? He said, because I know how you run things and we don't hear of any trouble here, he said, we won't bother you. You got my word, we won't bother you. But if we are ever called to this address when you've got a party on and there's trouble here, he went, I promise you, Dave, I will come down on you like a ton of bricks. You will never have another party again, and you might not be living here afterwards. They went, and that's the deal I'm having with you. Yeah. All right, so I'm leaving you to do your parties. And he went, and don't think we don't know about the strong Caribbean smell that comes out of the back of the garden with the herbal remedies that you've got down there. He said, we're fully aware of it, but be sensible with it. You know, we're not going to be petty. But if we do come here, you will never have nothing again. And in fairness to them, they didn't. They was we was respectful for their honesty with us, and they were respectful to us. But that event never went ahead, and it was a choker because it would have been a good event.